Hello everyone, my name is Taarini Kaur. I am the founder and managing partner of Brave 14 Capital. I'm a sophomore at Irvington High School, and today I'm going to share with you how venture capital can narrow the tech gender gap. How many of you, by a show of hands, can name these 4 people? As expected, almost everybody. Next slide. How many of you, by a show of hands, can name these 5 people? Again, as expected, we live in Silicon Valley, right? You could say that those people are kind of like these people, but of the tech industry. How many of you can name these 4 people now? No one? It's okay, I took a survey of high schoolers in Silicon Valley. 85% couldn't, and I have a feeling that 15% that said yes, some of them were bluffing. This is Arthur Rock. Oh, sorry. Could you? This is Peter Thiel, the angel investor in Facebook. This is Arthur Rock, the early investor in Apple. David Sheridan, the early investor in Google. And Tom Albert, the early investor in Amazon. Who are these people and why should I care about them, right? These are the angels and venture capitalists that invested in companies like Apple, Facebook, Google, and Amazon. You could say that without them, there might not be any Apple, Facebook, Google, or Amazon today. Now, if you're still not convinced by the impact of venture capital, let me tell you, 43% of the publicly traded companies in the United States alone are venture capital backed. Now, what is venture capital? Let's break it down. Venture and capital. The definition of venture, a risky or daring journey or undertaking, daring to do something, go somewhere that may be dangerous. And capital, as we know, is money. Brilliant thinking is rare, but courage is an even shorter supply than genius. Venture capital has the word venture in it for a reason. You dare to invest money. Now, the definition of venture capital, according to Wikipedia, is a type of financing that's provided by firms or funds to small, early-stage emerging firms that are deemed to have high growth potential or have demonstrated high growth. This is according to Wikipedia. Now, what I see in that definition is a big dollar sign, all talking about money. Money, money, high growth potential, money again. What about ethics? What about the inclusion? Nothing about that. Now, is the definition of venture capital inclusive of all factors? Now, I'm going to deter from this for a moment and talk about my story and how I got started. As a kid, living in Silicon Valley, I was introduced to entrepreneurship at a very young age. Both my parents are from the tech industry. In the dining table, I would hear stories of Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, how Facebook was formed, how Google was formed, how Apple was formed, and these journeys just amazed me. I knew that I loved their persistence, their idea, and the whole belief that they had that they were going to be the change in the world. I knew that I wanted to be in there someday. So in 5th grade in my middle school, I decided to start an entrepreneurship club. I went to my teachers, I went to the head, and they're just like, no, you're in 5th grade, you can't do that, right? It took me 3 years to actually convince them, and by 8th grade, I had successfully formed an entrepreneurship club in my school. I learned that kids learn in a step-by-step process. I learned that there are a lot of age, social, and gender biases in becoming entrepreneurs. I wrote a book to prove to children that you can overcome these and you can be an entrepreneur. I am very humble and honored to have these great mentors who have also given quotes for my book, especially Ray Lane, the ex-COO of Oracle and managing partner of Great Point Ventures, and Chuck Easley, the Stanford professor, and all of these amazing people. I'm truly grateful for them in my life. In my book, I talk about the entrepreneurship score, because there has to be a simpler way to measure companies to see if they're good to invest in or not. Entrepreneurship score is equal to the wealth created times the impact times customers times ethics. The new thing I added was ethics, diversity pay gap, any allegation of discrimination, etc. As you can see, it's directly proportional to the entrepreneurship score, so if any of those factors are down, the entire score goes down. Why is diversity important in startups? Let's look at it. The customer base for most companies is diverse. Whenever I talk to a tech startup, they're focused on product market fit, the economic impact, the revenue, which, don't get me wrong, are extremely important. However, I think diversity is equally important. According to Forbes, MIT Center for Collective Intelligence has discovered the more number of women on decision-making teams, the better the decision outcomes. When it comes to team performance, the more women, the better. A study by the Credit Suisse Research Institute found that companies with at least one woman on the board outperform companies with no women on their board by 26%. So if you want your startup to start making bank, it's clear that having a gender-balanced workplace is a key to a successful bottom line. So it's not like women need you, you need them. According to Fortune magazine, funding for female founders was stalled at 2.2% of venture capital dollars in 2018. In 2018, venture capital was valued at $130 billion. 2.2%, that's $2.6 billion out of 130. Proportion of global startups with a female founder on the first funding has improved from 10% in 2009 to 20% in 2019. As you can see in the statistic, in the graph and statistic by Crunchbase, it's nearly not even a quarter. Now let's think fashion industry. When we think fashion industry, we think the majority customer base is women. I read somewhere in an article, don't know about the credibility, but it says the average American woman owns 7 Louis Vuitton bags. That's crazy. The majority for fashion, the customer base is women. Now let's look at the top 10 performing CEOs in the fashion industry, according to Fashion United. There's not one of them is female. Only 11.2% of C-suite executives are female in the public companies. More women have become executives in supportive roles, but their share of jobs with profit and loss responsibility, stepping stones to CEO, have been flat, as you can see, HR, administration, general counsel. The statistic speaks for itself, the numbers. Number of companies with at least one female founder that have passed the valuation of $1 billion in 2019 was 21 out of 142. That's crazy. You can see the change from 2013 to 2019. Yes, it's increasing, but it's nowhere near equal. Why does this graph remind me of evolution of man? We're somewhere in the middle to be equivalent to male counterparts. According to the World Economic Forum, it projects that at the current rate of progress, it'll take 208 years to reach gender equality in the United States alone. Melinda Gates has pledged $1 billion to further gender equality and building the power and influence of women across the United States in 2019. I share her mission because I truly believe that equality cannot wait. How can venture capital solve the tech gender gap, right? Venture capital funds new ideas. So if you fund companies with women in C-suite roles, you empower them to prove their strengths, show their capabilities, and make their mark on the world and illuminate the path for other women. We need more female venture capitalists to accelerate the evolution of funding women-led startups. Venture capital impact scales across several startups. It's a domino effect. Majority of venture capital firms still have no female investor. Last year, 52 women became partners or GPs for the first time at US VC firms with more than $25 million in assets under management. This represents a 37% increase from 2018's figure of 38. Nonetheless, 65% of VC firms still have 0 female partners or GPs, and the lack of diversity is still evident. Of the 52 women surveyed, only 1 identified as African American, and none identified as Latinas. Now, walking the talk myself, when I was 12 years old, I co-created an online community of women on Instagram. The Instagram account is called Classy Women, with my friend Komal Dixit. We bonded over a similar goal of empowering women globally. We reached 620,000 followers in the span of 2.5 years, spanning over 10 countries. As I was posting quotes, I realized that I wanted to create an advice section to it. I wanted to help women one-on-one. The questions I would get is which career I would choose. I'm interested in so-and-so. My parents aren't letting me continue my education. They want me to get married. Or my significant other is beating me. How do I leave him? And these questions, as you could see, range from something as simple as career advice and breakup problems to something more serious like gender discrimination or domestic violence. After this, I knew that I had to voice my story. I had to speak out, not just for myself, but for these women, so that they know that they have a place in this world, because they truly do. So I went to the Women's March. I spoke at the Google Female Founders Summit. Spoke at TaiCon. I was fortunate enough to have an article written on me at the Mercury News to spread awareness. And I'm humbled and honored to be part of India's top 100 women in finance, among all these amazing women who have truly proven themselves in the business industry and have broken down all barriers possible. Now, what am I doing to reduce the tech gender gap? It's easy to complain, right? I have been fortunate enough to raise an $860,000 venture capital fund where I will be investing in women-founded technologies and artificial intelligence, blockchain, etc. I can't thank my LPs, my investors, enough for giving me this opportunity. I'm truly grateful for them. Now you must be thinking, and what I'm interested in is investing in people. Now you must be thinking, I'm a teenager, how can I be a venture capitalist? Yes, the definition of venture capitalist is capital, and if you have capital, I guess you could invest. If not, you could try raising it. However, you can invest your time. We live in Silicon Valley, which means that we're surrounded by startups. Reach out to them, create a LinkedIn profile, attend conferences, network with people. When you find startups, ask how you can benefit them. You can help them with something marketing, sales, simply learn about them, or even give them advice. As girls or as teenagers in general, our opinions are different. We are diverse, but we bring to the world no one else can. Use this time. Now don't say that I'm too young or I'm a teenager, I can't do this, because I've gotten that a lot, and I know how it feels. Warren Buffett said he made his first investment at age 11. He said he was wasting his life up until then. We're all above, well, most of us are above the age of 11, so we have no excuse. Takeaways from my talk: it's very important to speak up and voice your story. Venture capital has a tremendous social and economic impact. I suggest teenagers, especially girls, to consider it as a career option. Age doesn't matter in venture capital and entrepreneurship. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it, especially Ayushi and Rajvi for organizing the event.